from the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Center. Take one last look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Tuesday morning. Several accidents to report. One at Bluff and I-77, one at Forest Drive near Percival, 302 at I-26, I-20 eastbound at 277, hard scrabble at Lee Road, as well as I-20 westbound at Fair Road. Today's high is 83 with sunshine. Tomorrow, pretty similar. Right now, 64 in downtown Columbia on the early game. Nine o'clock on your Tuesday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry along with you here. I didn't say this yesterday, but happy September. We are actually in the 9th month of the year officially. I know yesterday we were busy talking all things football, but yes, we've entered another month.
I think you did mention, though, yesterday that it is September 1st. So at least you acknowledged it to some degree. But yes, happy September to those who celebrate. So we're in the Embers months now. So.
Well, we are the Embers as we get towards the end of the year. I did peek at the weather for this weekend. And wouldn't you know it, the first home game after we've had this fall-ish type of weather the past couple weeks, it's going to be like mid-90s. I didn't look at the humidity, but I imagine it's going to be pretty high, and we'll feel like that last little gasp of summer once again.
See, but isn't it good that it's a night game? And I hate night games from a work perspective, but for the fans.
Yeah. Now, for those that are going to be tailgating all day, drink plenty of water, mix in a water, as our guy Mike Uva likes to say. Make sure you got sunscreen, shade, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a long day before that 7 o'clock kick.
Yeah, it's going to be but hey, that means we get to watch at least some of the noon games and whatnot. So that'll be fun.
This week's slate isn't really that great, though. I don't know if you've looked ahead.
I have, because I sent out the stat picks.
Yeah, that's right.
It was hard to pinpoint like what games are really, really good.
Like Michigan, Oklahoma, that's game of the week.
Yeah.
That'll be fine. Oregon, Oklahoma State is a sneaky, interesting matchup.
If Oklahoma State is...
Yeah, if OK State's better than they were a year ago.
That's the thing.
Oh, God. There was one other that I'm thinking of. Illinois and Duke are playing each other.
Yeah, and the line on that game is so weird. It's +3 for Duke. Which is like, so I mean, not Indiana. Illinois is favored by 3, but it's like, isn't Illinois supposed to be pretty good this year?
They're a spot above South Carolina in the AP poll, at least.
Speaking of which, we
week
get the
one AP poll.
Speaking of which, we'll get the AP poll later today.
Yes, we will. I was anticipating it yesterday, and I dumbly forgot. Oh, there's another game that has to be played tonight. Which we'll get to that in a few minutes because my goodness, what happened there? I like to call Tuesdays what fell through the crack Tuesdays, because obviously we come down on Reaction Mondays and we're just mainly focusing on South Carolina and everything that happened with their game. And I mean, we didn't even get to everything that happened with Carolina yesterday because there was so much to unpack, from week number 1. But before we kind of dive into to any more nuanced things, overall, what was your takeaway of week 1 of college football? Not specifically South Carolina, but just the entire sport and its opening weekend.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think we're still going to have a lot of parity. I think that's the main thing here. I mean, that Florida State game really was the first big one, the first big domino to fall in college football this season with Alabama losing. I'm very interested to see where Alabama falls today. I've seen some people say they need to be out of the rankings. I've seen some people put them at 18, that 21 range maybe. Personally, I think they're going to still be ranked, but I don't know. I'm very curious to see where they go, and also where Florida State goes, because it seems like everyone's changed their tune on Florida State after one game.
It is so tricky because, as we well know, just look at the past couple years, what a team is in week one is not always indicative of what they're going to be later on in the season and when the regular season's wrapped up and we're deciding who's going to go to the college ball playoff. So I try and hesitate from drawing complete conclusions about teams coming away from week number one. But there are several teams, one of them played last night, that I look at and say, oh, it's going to be a long season. And Alabama, because the Alabama thing, and again, we'll get back into this in a couple minutes with what Kalen DeBoer had to say yesterday in his presser, because, oof, that was bad. With Alabama, I didn't see the effort, right? And this wasn't scheme. This wasn't talent, because we have all that. Effort is something that you can't just flip a switch on and say, all right, guys, you better go out there and try harder next time. Like, it doesn't work like that, and that's what concerns me about Alabama, that they're going to be in this for the long haul, because something that they've done in their offseason with their training, with their conditioning, with their mindset going into that game was all wrong.
I'm very concerned about Alabama at this point. Like, yeah, they're going to win this week. They got Wisconsin coming into town. That could be tricky for them, but, I mean, they manhandled
Wisconsin. At least that game's at home.
At least it's at home. I mean, they manhandled them in Madison last year, but I'm not sure what to think of this Alabama team. I think they're going to get walloped by Georgia here in a few weeks on the road in Athens, and then obviously they come here in next month, which is kind of crazy to say right now that would be next month. But, Alabama's got a lot of work to do. I almost wonder, 3-4 losses, that's got to, lead to Kalen DeBoer getting fired. I mean, there's too much going wrong at this point to where – did you see that clip yesterday of him?
Oh, we're gonna get to it.
Oh yeah,
that's good. We're gonna get to that. Don't worry.
Good. We won't spoil it.
Yeah, we won't spoil that. We're gonna dive deeper into it.
But there are problems.
It's funny because my fantasy football group chat was popping off last night talking about Alabama and Kalen DeBoer, and his buyout right now is 60, 65 million, something like that. And somebody in the group chat said, oh well, if they lose X amount of games this year, then he's definitely getting fired. And I wanted to say, or what I did say was, Alabama doesn't have as much money as people think they do, right? They're not the biggest spenders in college football. They just benefited from having the greatest coach of all time that kind of made up that deficit. So I don't know if they're going to be able to pull $65 million out of their butt just on a whim. But at the same time, it's like,
it's a lot of money, but it's like
this is such a unique circumstance because it's Alabama, and no other program has the same standard. So if they went 7-5, most places in year number 2, if you go 7-5, there's no way you're getting fired. Alabama could happen. We just don't know until we see it happen. And again, maybe it was just a bad first week, but I don't like the prospects of how this looks going forward because, again, it was effort, not skill.
And I think it's one thing if they go 8-4 or whatever, and they just have these really close losses and stuff. But, and again, Alabama has gotten beaten pretty badly in some of these games. Like Florida State, they were completely out-physicaled, out-toughnessed, if that's a word.
Out-toughed.
Out-toughed. Out-toughed. Oklahoma last year was an abomination. I still cannot believe they lost to Vanderbilt. I don't care that Vanderbilt ended up winning 7 games last year. You lost to freaking Vanderbilt.
Yes.
So they've had some really bad losses, and it's just like I said before, they've gotten out-physicaled, out-toughed.
Yeah.
They have had that's an issue, and it seems like effort is kind of an issue for them too. Again, there's some things I've seen online that I don't know if they're true or not, but if these guys are if what's being reported potentially out there is true with them being a bit lazy and stuff, and there not being enough accountability, then that's a real problem. And I think that's more so where the issues start to come in with Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, and again, his press conference didn't exactly go swimmingly yesterday. We'll get to that coming up a little bit later on in the show. Real quick, though, before we dive back into South Carolina stuff, we do really quickly need to hit our usual Sandstorm pick-me-up to get things rolling here at 9 o'clock.
Time to get hyped. Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm, sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all 9s.
It is time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick Me Up, brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or at work, call George Sink now at 803-ALL-9s. Again, a lot of things that we got to yesterday from the Carolina game, 24-11 victory over Virginia Tech on Sunday in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. A lot of things that did kind of fall through the cracks, though. One thing that we didn't spend a ton of time on yesterday was the running backs. And look, running the ball was tough on Sunday. Again, we talked about the offensive line concerns coming away from the game, so we won't really harp on that too much. But running between the tackles, didn't get a whole lot of push there. That was mainly Oscar Attaway trying to do that and didn't yield a lot of results. When they did get the opportunity to get outside the tackles, that's when you saw both Oscar Attaway and Rasul Faison, as the limited carries as he got, finally started to get out some yardage. Obviously, Faison had the great 30-yard run on that, 2nd and 33 or whatever it was. So you saw some glimpses, but still work in progress. And I was surprised by the lack of touches that Faison got. I figured that he had been practicing and, engaged with everything that was going on, that he would have been able to jump right in and maybe be your lead back there. But for whatever reason, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, no. And by the way, I thought that run by Faison, I just did a story, 5 plays that led to Carolina winning yesterday. I mean, that's one of them right there. I think, honestly, just because South Carolina got points out of that drive when it looked like a doomed possession where they're going to end up punting on second and third. Well, they'll be punting after having 30 yards to pick up. And, of course, Faison went out and did that. But, yeah, the run game, I think it was fine. I don't think it was bad at all. I would actually give it like a B. I thought the blocking was pretty good. And PFF feels the same way with giving Oscar Attaway and guys like Rasul Faison pretty good blocking grades from this game. So overall, pretty good. And I think this is honestly a pretty deep room to where you have Oscar, who was actually the lead back
It was.
on Saturday, which is
twice as many carries as Faison did.
Yeah, which was kind of surprising. But Oscar does his job. I mean, he's a great receiving back too, honestly, but he's also just a great player for Carolina to have in general. But I'm telling you, I think we're still waiting on the Faison to have the big breakout game. I do think it's going to come this weekend, being at home. But I think it's going to be pretty good.
I will say that, and again, I assumed, because everything that we've been told is Faison was practicing as normal, being involved with the first team reps as normal, like he was going to play through camp. So I didn't expect there to be kind of a acclimation period for him. But maybe that's what Sunday was. But I think you did see the difference in what you have in Attaway and what you have in Rasul Faison. And Attaway, when he's got a lane, perfectly, capable of getting you yardage and all that kind of stuff. Did have the spin moves on that one run. That was nice to see. But Faison's ability to make you miss, and that's something that we knew about him from his time at Utah State. Again, he was 8th in the nation last year as far as running backs go in missed tackles forced. And you saw that on just that one run alone that he got 30 yards, where he had to sidestep the free rusher in the backfield because Rodney Newsome missed his block as the pulling guard, sidestepped him, made a couple other guys miss, and got 30 yards out of it. So you saw Faison's ability on just that run alone of what he can bring to this offense.
Now, he can bring that, again, that ability to make guys miss, that twitchiness that he has in his game. It's so critical because, again, I don't think he's the quickest guy on this team, especially in the running back room, but I think he's got the best ability to break tackles, make guys miss, find holes. I mean, that's what we saw on the tape at Utah State, and we saw it on that one run right there. But again, we want to see more of that. We want to see him do it more often. And again, it's just he had 40 yards in the game, but 30 of them did come on the ground from that one play.
Like you said, I think this weekend against SC State, you'll see a heavier dose of him, and this weekend you're again, hopefully the game goes the way we expect it to go, where Carolina can get pretty deep into their bench because, again, those are the only 2 running backs we saw. We anticipated, hey, we might see Isaiah Augustave, maybe you'll get a carry for Howell or Matthew Fuller, but none of those guys. I think Augustave was on the field with the offense at some point, but he never got a carry or a touch.
Yeah, which a little surprising, to be honest, but I also get it because you want to ride with the hot hand and Faison and Attaway, those guys. I mean, they did their job, but I want to see more guys integrated into this offense.
So we'll see more of that this upcoming weekend. Also want to talk about some of the specialists that we didn't get a chance to dive into yesterday as well, as we continue to put a bow on what happened this past weekend with South Carolina taking down Virginia Tech 24-11 in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You're listening to the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry along with you on your Tuesday here on The Game. It's all right here for our friends over at Twin Peaks. The NFL is back on Thursday night. And that means if you have not had your fantasy draft yet, time is literally running out. And if you want to have a fantasy draft, there's no better place to have it than with our friends over at Twin Peaks. If you have first overall pick, make sure you select Twin Peaks for your fantasy football draft. You can stay cool under pressure with 29-degree draft beers and bites for the whole team, plus a $50 bonus card for the commission, and additional $5 bonus cards for every drafter. This only runs through Thursday, so you quite literally only have 2 more days to get this done. Head over to twinpeaksrestaurant.com/fantasy draft for more info. And while you're watching football, there's no better combination than football and Fireball. It's truly a match made in heaven, and by heaven, of course, I mean Twin Peaks. Spice things up for your next game day with a shot of your favorite cinnamon whiskey. Taking all the great football action and so much more with our friends at Twin Peaks, right down the street here in Columbia in the Vista.
You mentioned the great week before the game. Just how much do you self
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Ty Red and Jack Beltry along with you here on your Tuesday on the game. Going over things that we didn't quite get a chance to get to yesterday, talking about South Carolina's season-opening 24-11 win over the Virginia Tech Hokies in Atlanta. And one of our biggest concerns going into the season overall was special teams, because you were in a very rare situation where your kicker, punter, holder, and long snapper were all new coming into this year. And in the case of, all those, they'd never done any of those things before at the college level. We didn't even know who the kicker was going to be because we didn't have a depth chart. That obviously ended up being William Joyce on Sunday when we saw him out there for the one field goal. After the game on Sunday, Coach Beamer gave his assessment of how he thought special teams did.
Yeah, proud of them. I kidded with Joe D. We always, right before the game, when we come off the field from pregame warm-ups, I told him that I asked him how we looked in pregame because I was scared to watch with some of the snappers and holders and kickers and punters, just because it was their first game. And it's scary in so many ways that, when we punted today, it's the first time since I've been the head football coach at South Carolina that Kai Kroger did not punt. And to have a new snapper, a new holder, a new field goal kicker, a new punt returner, a new punter, and kick returner, everything. I mean, it's all new, and that's a little unnerving, especially in an environment like this against a good team that's good on special teams. So I thought they did a great job. William came in, hit a nice field goal right there where you thought we had a touchdown, and then you got to regroup and go hit the field goal. And Mason did a nice job. We didn't think we'd have to punt after a safety, but he came in and did that and did a nice job. And I thought our coverage units were good as well. So proud of, I thought we did a good job, and like every position, offense and defense, there'll be a lot to build up on as well.
Obviously, punt return speaks for itself with Fakari Swain's punt return touchdown that helped South Carolina win the game. There were no kickoffs that got returned. They all ended up being touchbacks for South Carolina. But when we talk about kicking and punting, we'll start with kicker, William Joyce, who, again, we maybe kind of had an idea it was going to be him, but didn't know for sure. Until the game actually started, I guess, when warm-ups were happening, and you got the idea. Again, he only had to go out there for one. It was 27-yarder, made it, no issues there. That was almost kind of like the ideal situation that we talked about going into this game was, okay, when do you trot him out there? How far is too far? You want him to get off a comfortable kick to get things started. You're obviously indoors. There's no elements or wind or stuff you have to worry about. So 27 yards for your first field goal. You can't ask for a better situation to put William Joyce in to start off.
No, I think I was talking with you and Terry about this leading into the game on Sunday. I'm like, all right, like kicking is going to be massive in this game probably, special teams in general, honestly. And the last thing you want is for South Carolina to have him go out there, kick a 40-yard field goal, and he misses it on his first try. That would probably hurt his confidence a lot, but going out there, making this 27-yarder, kind of a chip shot in a lot of ways, he nailed it, and that's good for the confidence moving into this week where hopefully you have more opportunities to kick.
Yeah, again, it's more of just kind of getting it out of the way, right? And now, again, he's still got to see what he's going to do from longer range and dealing with elements and all those kind of things. But that at least got the confidence probably to where it needs to be because, again, he's a guy that's been around for a little bit and going out there in front of however many tens of thousands of people or Mercedes-Benz Stadium, a live crowd for the first time. That's a lot. That's a lot of pressure. And for him to go out there and make the kick, that at least gets that, monkey off his back of, hey, you haven't done it before, and now hopefully everything else will be pretty smooth. So we'll see. And again, we'll see how many situations he gets into this weekend. The fortunate thing about a game like SC State, and again, no disrespect to the Bulldogs, but if this game goes the way that it's supposed to go for a team like Carolina, you're going to be up by a lot, and you can have situations of, all right, yeah, we could go for it here on 4th down from the 30, 4th and 2 or something like that, but we really want to work our kicker out, so let's just go ahead and trot him out there and get 3 points instead.
Totally. That's exactly what you want later in the game, especially when, you don't want to run the score up, I don't think, too much. I think you definitely, if you get to the other side of the field in plus territory, you definitely want to try and end up with a field goal potentially later in this game. Hopefully by that point the game is already in hand, but we'll see. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what special teams can do because typically you see a lot of improvement from week 1 to 2.
Yeah.
In terms of like everyone's like on the same page. Like, you get all the kinks out in week 1, hopefully, and hopefully that'll be the case for South Carolina this week.
Well, because, we look at week number 3 with Vanderbilt coming into town, and we think that they are a tricky opponent and one that obviously gave trouble to a lot of really good teams in the SEC a year ago, where kicking a clutch field goal could be the difference in this game. And you want to make sure that William Joyce is feeling good, feeling confident, and you've seen him kick at least a handful of field goals up to that point.
Yeah, no, I mean, you definitely want that to be the case in this game. Like, you want to test him going in this game. You don't want it to be, field goals are field goals. Like, if he's kicking more 27, 30-yard field goals, so be it. But I honestly would like to see the kind of range he has in this game, so that way when we get to SEC play starting next week, we have a good idea, because we saw how critical kicking was in those conference games. The LSU game last year, the Alabama game. I'll even say the Illinois game was really important with the kicking, as Alex Herrera missed a field goal that went off the upright. So unless I'm forgetting another one, I think those are the main ones that were really critical last year, and all of those came in bigger games.
Absolutely. Elsewhere, when it comes to punting, Mason Love, who we thought might have been doing kicking as well, but he's just doing punting, which we kind of assumed was the case. Great day punting for him. 5 punts, averaged just shy of 48 yards per punt. 2 of those going inside the 10-yard line. So he was able to place those very nicely, 3 total inside the 20. I mean, really, you can't ask for a better day from a first-time punter than what Mason Love had.
Yeah, no, totally. He had some nice rolls on some of these punts, too. The first one in particular was a really nice roll. I think it went down to maybe like the 10-yard line, if I'm remembering correctly, on a good bounce. So, I think he got better throughout the game. He had a few kicks that went for 50 yards plus, so that is really good to see out of him. And I think he's only going to continue to get better. I think a lot of these guys are going to continue to get better as they get more game experience, as they get more reps, and hopefully there will be more opportunities for these guys, especially in games like this.
Well, and when you combine a good punter with a good defense, which by what we saw on Sunday, it looks like this defense is probably going to be pretty good. Once again, you can put your trust in that, right? Like, all right, hey, drive stalls out at, your own 45-yard line or something like that. You say, okay, we feel like we have a punter that's going to be able to pin these guys, hopefully within it, at the very least, their own 20-yard line, if not their own 10-yard line, and a defense that's going to make it very hard for these guys to get themselves into scoring range. So you feel comfortable saying, all right, we'll punt the ball away and rely on our defense there. And again, great on Mason Love for a good debut as the punter.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to necessarily have to punt. You kind of want it to be like the Tennessee game a few years ago, where you're scoring every single drive of the game and you're just keeping your punter off the field. But obviously, and he has big shoes to fill, right? He has huge shoes to fill in what Kai Kroger did for this program over the last few years. But he's more than capable of doing it. I mean, it seems like things are going well for him. He had the good punts of the game on Sunday. I think he only got better as the game wore on. And again, he's another guy that he will benefit greatly, I think, from experiences. Hopefully you don't have to punt a lot in this game, but he'll benefit a lot from those experiences of punting.
We just got to figure out how good his arm is, and
that's
maybe we'll see that opportunity this weekend.
That's the main thing. If he's got a good arm, then why not use it?
Yeah, well, we'll absolutely have to see. I'm sure Pete Limbo, wherever he was watching that game from, was proud of what he saw from the special teams unit.
Absolutely. Pete did a great job at Buffalo so far, and hopefully
they put up a good fight against Minnesota last week.
They did. Yeah. Hopefully they can get the win, though, this week.
Absolutely. We'll dive in finally to what happened last night in Chapel Hill with our grill of the game coming up next. Oh, boy, it's going to be a long season for Old Chapel Bill. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you here on your Tuesday on the Game.
Everyone around here knows that AAA Heating and Air has the best HVAC replacement options in the Midlands with their guaranteed financing, no payments or interest for 12 months, and a 15-year parts and labor warranty. They're hard to beat when you need a new system. And let's be honest, there's probably going to come a point where maybe you do need a new system, whether it's your heating, cooling. Maybe you need an electrical repair as well. AAA Heating and Air can also help you with that. But what if your system does just need a repair? Maybe what if that's it for you? Well, AAA has something for you as well. If you're strapped for cash, they offer up to 12-month payment plans with no credit check on repair services. Yep, that's right, no credit check. So just have a valid bank account, and you can own your home. Whether you are replacing or repairing, AAA Heating and Air has you covered. Call today and get your comfort back on track. You'll be glad you did.
All right, welcome back in. It is The Extra Point. It's our Ed and Jack Beltry along with you here on your Tuesday on the game. It is time for our first grill of the game for week number 1, of the college football season. And, well, we don't have to go too far back because last night up in Chapel Hill, it was the debut of Bill Belichick as the head coach for the North Carolina Tar Heels, taking on TCU. Things got ugly real quick, real fast, and it was at this point last night when I knew the game was pretty much over.
Rhythm, you throw in the interception, pick six by Bud Clark, comfortable 13-point lead, and in my opinion, the way that first half went, it's a big drive for the North Carolina defense.
That was the Capital One rewarding performance, and this is a rewarding run as Kevorian Barnes is out the gate, inside the 30, to the 10, touchdown TCU, 75 yards and no flags.
Kevorian Barnes, 75 yards, pretty much to start the second half for TCU, who had the lead 20-7 at halftime. That made it 27-7, and again, at that point, I knew the game was over, and it ended up being a 48-14 rout as the night went on.
Man, I think this game probably was about on par for what we were expecting. We had so many concerns about the obvious being Bill Belichick being hired by North Carolina this year. I think we had so many concerns. I know you and I for sure did, and I think our worst fears have been realized because North Carolina got their butt kicked pretty much from start to finish. I mean, they did lead 7-0 in this game. I mean, the hype was real going into the game, and they had the great drive to get things going, but after that, complete disaster.
This game last night was a classic example of never draw conclusions from scripted plays, because you're right. They marched down the field in that first drive surgically, 75 yards and a touchdown to start things off. Boom, 7-0, and that was pretty much it. That was all they did for the rest of the night. Gio Lopez went 2 hours and 8 minutes of real time between completions. They kept flashing up that graphic of last completed pass was at 8:12 p.m., and it was not until 10:20 p.m. that he completed his next pass.
My gosh, yeah. And he went 4 of 10 last night for 69 yards and an interception. He had to leave the game, and then Max Johnson came in, the former A&M transfer. I believe he also played at LSU, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, this is his third school.
Yeah,
Yep, he's been around a little bit.
He's been around. So he had a pretty good game, though, yesterday. 9 of 11 for 103 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown going to his brother on the tight end there. But, yeah, I mean, look, for a first game, I think this one went about as bad as it could have for UNC. And, you know, they had all the stars there. Michael Jordan was there, notably. Randy Moss, I saw, was there. The stars. My manager, Aaron Boone, Yankees manager, was in the freaking building. But, I mean, such an underwhelming performance. I mean, this is like the opposite of what happened when Deion became the coach of Colorado, because it feels very comparable in terms of, man, all these people are showing up to UNC football.
And that's a really good comparison that I want to get back to in just a second. But I will say this. Watching this game last night, if you stripped away the decals and the Carolina blue, I would have thought that was an FCS team.
You would have thought.
Because that's what they looked like. They looked like they were slower. They looked like they were less athletic. They looked like they were less prepared than TCU. And look, this isn't the TCU team that went to the national championship 3 years ago. This is a good, like decent Big 12 version of a TCU team, but they're not world beaters by any means. And they went out there and absolutely blew the doors off of North Carolina. Like, that shouldn't have happened. And I'm glad you brought up the Deion comparison, because I thought something similar in terms of the hype leading into this game. We all remember Deion's debut, and God, The Rock was there, and Ocho Cinco was there, and all these people famous on the sidelines showing up at Colorado games. And funny enough, they beat TCU in their debut 2 years ago, and they were the talk of college football and all this and all that. And, again, they went out there in the first game and at least backed it up. But at least Deion had the experience of coaching in college football. Yes, it was Jackson State. Yes, it was the FCS level. But still, coaching in college is vastly different than coaching in the NFL. And Deion, who hadn't had NFL coaching experience, knew what to do as a college coach going up from one level to the next. Bill Belichick has no clue what coaching in college football is like. And one thing that irritated me in this offseason, and God, Michael Lombardi, the GM for North Carolina, is on the Pat McAfee show like once a week. He's one of the regular guests, so we've been hearing about North Carolina and their process and all this kind of stuff the entire offseason since Bill Belichick was hired, and they keep talking about, we're bringing an NFL model. We're going to run this like an NFL team, as if Ohio State and Oregon and Georgia and Texas and all these other powerhouse programs don't already run their ships like their NFL teams. What is North Carolina going to do that's vastly different that these other successful programs aren't already doing? And we saw last night it's not anything new.
So now that we've seen week one, again, things can change. I mean, they play Charlotte on the road this week, so if they lose that game, which I would hope not, because I think they're
listen. They play like they did last night. It could happen.
Yeah, like they're a 3-touchdown favorite in that game. So I would hope.
I'm taking Charlotte to cover. Go ahead and say that right now.
Now let's just think out loud here. You know, what do we see? How long does Bill last? Because again, I just don't see this going very, very well.
So I'm trying to remember the thing with his buyout, because it drops pretty significantly.
Yes.
If he were to take an NFL job, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think you are right. And it's a 5-year deal, so
yeah,
it's. I mean, look, this could be pretty long, but again, he's 73. He's very old. Like,
and here's something else that didn't get talked about enough. He hired his son as his defensive coordinator. I don't know if you watched Washington's defense last year. Washington, the Huskies, their defense was not great. The only reason he's on the staff is because he is Bill Belichick's son. The defensive backs coach is also his son, Brian Belichick. Like, he made this a family affair, and God knows what else Jordan Hudson's involved in with all this kind of stuff. Maybe she picked the players from the transfer portal for all we know, but Bill Belichick, there's a reason why Bill does not have a job in the NFL right now. Because people looked at what he was post-Tom Brady, and it was bad. Like, New England was to the point of broken beyond repair. And look, I feel really bad for Gerard Mayo because he only got 1 year there. That was a tough job to try and rebuild that. And we'll see what Mike Vrabel's able to do now that he's finally back in New England. But, like, that organization was in the gutter of the NFL when Bill Belichick left, got fired, however you want to phrase it. And it was a weird thing where they mutually agreed to part ways or whatever. But there's a reason why he doesn't have an NFL job right now, because people don't look at him as somebody that can come in and win. And North Carolina was like, hey, what the heck, come down to college. And clearly he has a long, long road to get this program back to something respectable.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think he's going to be here for the long haul to do it. I just don't see that being the case, just because this is obviously not a 1-year fix. This is going to take time. I mean, you said it earlier, man, like, North Carolina just did not look competitive at all against TCU. It looked like they were underprepared. It looked like they were, like, the talent level just does not look the same by any means. And again, he's had a full off season to go ahead and recruit this team. But again, year ones can always be tricky because it's like you still have leftover pieces from what was before.
Sure.
And you're also trying to, again, he's never coached at the college level. So recruiting these kids can be a lot different compared to NFL, where you're trying to work out contracts and stuff with free agents. So I don't know. I mean, I don't see what the kids see in him that committed to him and stuff. But I mean, I don't know what a Bill Belichick recruitment meeting looks like. But I can't imagine it's something simple as like, come play for the school, come play for me.
I don't know. Maybe he just puts the Super Bowl rings on the table and says, hey, look what I did. Hey, I mean, I'm sure that can sway some people.
Like, hey, I coached Tom Brady. Like, like that sort of thing.
But this continues, and again, it's one game. We're not trying to overreact too much, but they definitely had the poorest performance of just about anybody over the entire first week of college football. But there's a track record of coaches that were in the NFL that come to college and fall flat on their face. Herm Edwards, perfect example of that. Lovie Smith when he was at Illinois. There's probably others that I'm not thinking about right now, but Bill Belichick looks like he's trending towards being another one of those guys that thought he could come to college and just take over because, if I did it in the NFL, I can do it here, it's going to be easy, and that's not the case. This is still professional football at the end of the day. It's just a different kind of level of professional football that Bill Belichick was clearly not prepared for.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we see coaches leave the game with NIL and all this stuff going on. They don't want to deal with that. But I just can't see this working out for Bill, where he's head first into this stuff. I mean, he's got Michael Lombardi. He's probably got people around him that are helping out with a lot of this. But it's just something where I think the game was kind of passed him by in a lot of ways.
And look, there would have been no shame in losing last night. If they would have lost to TCU 31-24, okay, whatever. At least they would have been competitive. But to get embarrassed on national television, no less, to wrap up week number 1 of the season, like, that's shameful. And you saw him walking off the field in just like that blank stare that he always has, just looking lost, which I really think he is at this point.
Yeah, no, I mean, totally. But you hope that he can get this thing turned around because, for his sake, he probably needs to. But I saw so many people talking about the hype for Belichick being at North Carolina, how they're going to have a great year and all that. But, I mean, that stadium by the end of the game was empty, and that's not a good sign for UNC.
They would be lucky to get to a bowl if last night was any indication.
Yes.
And again, it's only week 1. Maybe they'll change, but I'm not counting them playing anything past the regular season right now.
No, most points allowed in a season opener in school history, by the way. So there you go.
Over 500 yards off it, and TCU called off the Dogs. They could have put up a lot more if they wanted to.
They could have. They could have. But it's a night to forget for UNC.
Definitely so. We'll hit our oddities of college football as we put a bow on week number 1. Coming up next, it is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you on your Tuesday here on The Game. All right, welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you here on your Tuesday, wrapping up hour number 1. Remember, Coach Beamer speaking today at 1 o'clock, which you'll be able to listen to on the halftime show as he gives his final thoughts from the weekend's win over Virginia Tech and starts to look ahead to SC State coming up on Saturday. We didn't get a chance to get to this yesterday because we had so many things to get to, but it is time for our Week 1 version of Oddities of College Football, where we highlight the weird things that happened around this beautifully bizarre sport that we love so much, starting off all the way back on Friday night. Now, this is a common thing where you'll have guys that play on special teams with duplicate numbers, so they'll have a jersey on the sidelines ready for somebody to throw on to go out there to cover a punt or cover a kick or whatever. Rarely is it the guy that's returning punts, though. And when Georgia Tech played Colorado on Friday night, there was a punt returner that had to throw on a 43 jersey to go out there and return the punt that was comically oversized. He is the size of a receiver/DB. That jersey is clearly made for a lineman.
Yeah, like the size jersey he should be wearing is probably like, I'd have to guess like a medium, maybe a small. I'm not sure. He doesn't look that big, but the jersey on him, it looks humongous. We're talking probably like an XL or maybe a double X. Like, that's a huge jersey, and it's so funny because on the punt return where he's wearing that jersey, one of the guys trying to tackle him literally just grabs him by the jersey, and you get to see how outstretched it is on the back. It's comical, to be honest.
We go to Arkansas now. They were taking on Alabama A&M over the weekend. Pretty comfortable win for them on Saturday to start their season. They successfully performed an accidental onside kick. So this was right before halftime where they were trying to squib it to just run the clock out a little bit more, force Alabama A&M to field it inbounds and run the clock out. And they did the classic, what's referred to as nail the nerd, where they kicked it right at one guy. It bounced back, and then the kicker basically picked it up in stride and ran with it out of bounds. And then they ended up kneeling out the half anyway, but still a successful accidental onside kick by Arkansas.
That's got to be something I don't think I've ever seen before, because I'm like watching the play at first, and I think they showed the replay first in the clip you sent, and it's literally just the ball just rolls back, and I'm like, how the heck did that happen? Like, did the grass roll up or something? But now you see it go off the guy, and I mean, just crazy play. And obviously Arkansas won this game by a handful, but just a crazy play that I don't know how many people have seen a play like that before.
Yeah, and again, a lot of people refer to this as nail the nerd, where you just aim for one guy, kick it at him, and hope it bounces off. And, well, they executed that flawlessly.
They did.
Speaking of, we talked about Georgia Tech a moment ago, taking on Colorado out in Boulder on Friday night. Deion Sanders, of course, had the issue with his bladder that was documented in the offseason, and he said he was going to have an accessible bathroom on the sidelines for when he needed to go. Well, there's never an opportunity. There's never a missed opportunity when it comes to sponsorship. Depend, the adult diaper company, has branded Deion's little sideline bathroom for Colorado games this year because, of course, they did.
You would have thought this is like a medical tent or something. Like, they couldn't have just gotten like a porta potty in there or something that looks like a bathroom, but now they got something that looks like a training tent. And yeah, it has the sponsor on it, which honestly is that's a pretty good move by Colorado and Deion.
Do we get a Deion Depend commercial?
Ooh.
Do we want that?
If the bladder reconstruction surgery is that serious, we may need one. But if not, I don't want to see that.
I mean, look, we can slap a logo on just about anything, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised this happened, right?
Yeah, not everything needs a commercial, so hopefully we don't need one with Deion in an adult diaper or something.
Oregon blew out Montana State over the weekend, but the controversy came when the Oregon Duck was running out pregame and, well, quite literally lost his head. There's a lot of things you are not supposed to do as the mascot, and lose your head and reveal your identity is one of them.
Yeah, and this isn't the first time that the Duck has quite literally lost his head. I saw a video, I think College Game Day. I don't know when this was from. I just was doom scrolling yesterday. I just saw this. It was so funny. The Duck was jumping off in full costume off an airplane or like a plane of some sort, and he's got his head in it, like the mascot head in his hand, and it just falls out off the plane, flies away. They recovered apparently, but I mean, it's not the first time that the Duck has lost his head. So.
And lastly, if you've remember the name TJ Finley, he's a U-Haul All-American. He's been here, there, and everywhere. Most recently was arrested earlier on this year while he was a member of the Tulane Green Wave. He has found his 6th home in college football as he's now a member of the Georgia State Panthers.
Bro needs to be a LinkedIn All-American. Like, this is insane. When I was stunned when I saw it yesterday, and even more so when I told you about it. I mean, I didn't think we'd be talking about TJ freaking Finley this year, but here we are once again.
In 6 years of college football, 37 touchdowns, 20 interceptions, only started 27 games over that time. And, now we'll see if he can find his way onto the field for the Panthers.
Maybe Carolina will play them. He's played them before. So.
We'll see. Absolutely, we will see. That'll do it for hour number 1 of the Extra Point. Coming up in the Garnet Trust Hour, presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating, Wes Mitchell sitting down with Quincy Lelio of Gamecock Softball. You hear that next right here on The Game. It's all right here for our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialists. I tell you about it all the time, but I'll remind you once again, you always need to be on the lookout for weird things happening around your home. Things like cracks in your exterior brick, cracks in walls or above windows and door frames, doors or windows that might be sticking, uneven or bouncy floors, or cracks over your garage door. If you notice any of these problems with your home, you could have serious foundation issues, and that's where our friends at Canty Foundation Specialists come in. If you go online to schedule an appointment today at cantyconfigures.com, they will send a professional out to your home. You've probably seen their trucks driving around all over Columbia and all over the state of South Carolina. They send somebody out to your home to evaluate your foundation issues and get it fixed so you and your family can live without worry going forward. If you notice any of these problems, again, do not hesitate. Go online to schedule an appointment today at cantyconfigures.com and let a professional at Canty Foundation Specialist help you out with your foundation issues.
All right, everybody, welcome back into another episode of the Garnet Trust Hour here on The Game. Once again, we have a very special guest from South Carolina Athletics. It is from Gamecock Softball, Quincy Lilio. Quincy, first of all, we appreciate you taking the time today, and second of all, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, and thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, we're looking forward to getting to know you a little bit on the field and off the field and learning a little bit more about South Carolina softball, of course, coming off a very special first year with Coach Ashley Chastain Woodard. Several of your teammates have moved on to other things after graduation, but several of you are back and have an opportunity to kind of run it back together. So obviously you are back in Columbia, back for year 2 with this program. I guess, can you just take us through what last year was like? I know it's an open-ended question, but just to kind of have a new coach, new teammates, newness all around, and then for you guys to make the run that you did, I got to imagine it's something you will remember forever.
Oh, yeah. Last year was definitely one for the books. You know, as we started playing, the team didn't feel new at all to me. It all kind of felt like we gelled together, and I think it's because, you know, in the offseason, we worked so hard to gel and just to create a new culture. Everybody was new to the program, even to the returners. It was new to them as well. So we just worked so hard to gel together, create a culture that was comfortable for everyone and that works for everybody. And, you know, taking it onto the field, it felt like family. I was playing next to people that I've played with my whole life.
Now, I know you obviously transferred in, and I know when we have a lot of athletes on, they talk about kind of hitting the portal and just mentally what that is like, and you kind of don't really know who's going to be on the other end when people call you or DM you and stuff like that. And obviously, in this case, it seemed to be a great fit for both sides in terms of how it worked out last season. But can you take us through, you know, the mentality, what was like hitting the portal and kind of that maybe nervousness of waiting to see what was going to happen, but then why was it South Carolina? Why did you decide to be a Gamecock after you did hit the portal?
You know, when you enter your name in the portal, it's a gambling game. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know who's going to call you. But I also think that's the beauty of entering the transfer portal. You know, you go with your gut, you go with what you feel. And when I got a call from Coach Katie, I believe I got a call first, and then I contacted with Coach Ashley. So I contacted with both of them before I came here on my visit. And there's just something that, you know, in me that felt very comfortable with going further away from family and, you know, stepping on campus and just being around them. They're, you know, people that I want to be around and, you know, coaches that I want to play for. And I definitely made the right fit.
Now, for those who don't know, Quincy is from California. So what was that like? I mean, you were at Oklahoma, so it's not like you were playing at home anyway, but you're coming, you know, the completely other side of the country, West Coast to East Coast. You know, was there any like culture shock? Was it just completely different? Or, I mean, I imagine you played a lot of travel ball going around your entire life. So maybe you're used to being away from home to an extent, but what was that aspect of it like, just coming all the way out here to the other coast?
It was pretty rough because, you know, when I was here on my visit, my mom and I were talking about how, you know, this college is pretty far. Like, you're on the whole other side of the country. Like, are you going to be okay with that? And so it definitely was a culture shock for me, just honestly, like, opening up and just accepting that, you know, I'm here and, you know, this was my choice and I'm here just to, you know, play the game that I love around the people that make me feel like I'm at home. So I guess the whole culture shock was more of like on me for not letting my guard down and, you know, just opening up to the people and the new things that are around me. So.
Yeah, so let's go onto the field a little bit. If I'm right on this, Quincy, so you were originally an infielder, a second baseman, is that right? Now, did you play? Did you play all over kind of growing up, or when you transitioned to center field at South Carolina? Was that like kind of truly your first time ever playing it? I know, looking at your bio, like I think you played second base some at Oklahoma. And then, of course, last year you're playing and starting every single game in center field for an SEC program. Got to be a little bit of a transition there. Can you take us through just kind of everything about that?
So in travel ball, I would go back and forth between infield, outfield. So that part wasn't new to me. And, you know, like I played outfield too and infield at the collegiate level at OU. But what was different is, just polishing, like, a few things that I know in the outfield. And Jody really helped with that because he mainly works with outfielders. And, just taking that time to work with him and for him to like teach me new things and just to get better in the outfield has really helped me this past year and even now.
Now, you throw right, bat lefty. I'm always curious when we have baseball or softball players on. Is that one of those things that kind of came natural, or is that one of those things where like early on in your life you're like, I'm playing softball, so let me teach myself to hit lefty? How, in terms of your journey, how did that kind of play out?
So I started softball being a right-handed hitter, until I started my first travel ball team, and I played for Athletics Mercado, but back then it was Gamers, and Brian Tidd was my head coach at the time, and because of my speed, he was like, oh, you have to be a slapper. Like, I did not know how to swing left-handed at all. I mean, I did, as I got older, but when I was little, all I did was slap. So my hitting coach, David Mercado, at the time was just helping me, get the slapping thing down. Like, you're this now, and there's no going back to being a right-handed hitter.
I got you. What was it? How long does that take for that to feel comfortable? I guess.
Oh, I guess. I mean, I didn't have a choice, so I had to get comfortable with it. Yeah. I switched over when I was 7 years old, so that was I don't even remember. I mean, I remember going from a right-handed to a slapper, but I don't remember the process at all because I was so young. That was the first time I started, playing travel ball, and right when I started, they were like, "Okay, you're a slapper now."
This is it. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
Do you ever in practice, can you get in there and hit righty? Do you still have that, or it's just kind of going, I guess, in terms of that motion? Are you comfortable with it at all?
No, I can't do that at all anymore. Yeah. It honestly feels like I've been a lefty ever since I started, and technically I have been because before travel ball, I just played rec ball. So rec ball straight to travel ball, left-handed. So it's yeah. It just all comes natural to me now.
Yeah, it's part of you now. It is who you are now. Let's talk a little bit. We like to let the fans know kind of what does a day in the life look like for you right now. And I know the different sports, there's all these rules in terms of the time of the year when you can have, team activities, when you guys are just kind of lifting or doing individual or small groups. September 1 right now today, as we're recording this, what is a day in the life for a South Carolina softball player today?
So right now, like you said, we're in 8 hours, so we're all in small groups. We call it skill practice. So every day is kind of different for me, but some days do look the same for me personally. So Mondays, I wake up and I have an 8 a.m. class. I have a class with Sage Scarmato. So me and her go to class together, and then we don't have lift until 11:30. So I have time to come back, eat some breakfast, hang out with my roommates. My roommates are Carly Shelton and Joy Hurd, and we all hang out. And then we head straight to lift. I go to lift at about 11, and then work out from 11:30 to 12:30. And then we're usually off on Mondays, but Wednesday I have the same schedule as Monday. So Wednesday would be defensive practice. So all outfielders gather together. We do two separate groups. There's a 3 to 4 time and a 4 to 5 o'clock time. So whatever group they put me in, that's the time I have to show up. And after that, I come home, make myself dinner, talk to my family, my boyfriend, my roommates, and then do homework, and that's it.
And that's that. You mentioned being in class with Sage, who is one of, I think it's about 10 transfers that have joined the program this offseason. And that, that's part of all these days. You're going to have transfers in, transfers out. Of course, your typical graduation where you're losing teammates as well. I know it's always important. Every coach talks about, hey, culture and kind of everybody gelling together with the new team. I know it's still young or still early, but what have you maybe noticed in terms of the players that are returning to this roster and kind of gelling together with the newcomers in terms of transfers? And I think there's 4 freshmen that have joined the team too.
I mean, so far, like what I feel like we've all gelled together pretty well and pretty quick, considering the fact that we all have different skill practice times. So I don't really see people as much, but like outside of softball, we do make that time to get together and to maybe every Friday night, Saturday night, or like during the week, we have like team dinners, or like we go and hang out with whoever we want, like new people and returners. So, I feel like we've gelled together really well, and we've had a lot of team gatherings where, we'd all just hang out, eat some dinner, and just talk. And that's amazing because this is only week 3, I believe, week 4. So nice.
Right. And I mean, I would imagine kind of what you alluded to, once you guys are in full team practice and spending more time all together, maybe that even takes another step from there. In terms of your own personal development, is there anything this offseason or a couple of things this offseason other than just, hey, I'm getting better overall, that you have wanted to focus on in terms of like moving your game forward and kind of taking that next step with it?
I would say for me not to be, or working on being more present in the moment. This is more of like a mental mindset part of my game. Of course I want to grow physically, my hitting and my defense side, but mentally was a little rough for me last year just because I was so result oriented, and that there's a part in season where it kind of took the joy of the game away from me. I did that to myself just because I was so locked into results and what I was doing, rather than I'm here playing the game, I'm with my teammates, I'm with playing for the coaches that I love, and just being out here playing, because softball's not around forever. So that's what I always tell myself. I'm a senior, this is my last year. So I would just say keeping that mindset, being present, and to just focus on more the people and the journey through the season, rather than my own personal goals, if that makes sense.
Yeah, complete sense. Hey, let's pause it right there. We got to take a quick break. We're going to continue our conversation here with South Carolina softball's Quincy Lilio. You're listening to The Game, and we'll be right back.
All right, I want to tell you about our friends over at Krantz Cooling and Heating every Tuesday and Thursday. Of course, the presenting sponsor of the Garnet Trust Hour here on The Game. Appreciate them for being a part of the program, helping us to get some South Carolina student athletes on the airwaves so that you can hear from them. KrantzCooling.com. That's Krantz, cooling with a K, KrantzCooling.com. Company I believe in because I've used them myself at my home. I send everybody I know a recommendation for Krantz Cooling and Heating, including my mom. When she moved to Irmo, Krantz went in, did a couple mini splits for her. They've done a mini split at my house. I've had them check out other things. Maintenance, repair, installations. They can also do commercials. So if you're a business owner, they can take care of you, residential and commercial HVAC. Since 1983, Krantz Cooling and Heating has been a local, reliable company right here in the Midlands. They can help you out with any of your needs. That's KrantzCooling.com. Check them out today.
All right, welcome back in segment 2 here with South Carolina softball and Quincy Lilio. Quincy, you were talking about the mental aspect of the game and kind of just being present and stuff like that. How much is like just data and analytics and all the other tools you guys have around you to kind of try and shape your game? It seems like, I imagine, and Coach Chastain has told us when she played, none of this stuff was even a thing at all in college ball, but now you have all this information basically.
I would say it comes very natural to us just because, the coaches are they're already super into, small details is what makes you successful. Small details is what brings everyone together, all the tools together. And, with the motor preference testing and just, Rapsodo and just all these other technological things that help us develop as players, it's super cool once you learn more about it. It may seem very foreign to people that don't play softball, but once you get to understand it and, get to learn more about it, it comes natural to you because it applies to your own movements. So and just learning about other people and how they move, it's honestly really interesting because we have professionals come visit us and, test us. All of our coaches are verified to test us as well. So it's just very interesting because we learn something new every day, but also too, it makes us easier with, playing games and practicing and learning about ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fascinating just that they have so much data these days throughout, really all sports, but softball certainly in terms of, what you're talking about, the analytics as well, the data. We had Ari Rhodey on a couple months ago. She's talking about the data that other teams have on you guys in terms of your tendencies and stuff like that. I know you guys kind of shift a lot as well and probably play to the tendencies of opponents on defense as well. Let's talk about the staff here at South Carolina a little bit. You mentioned Jody earlier, Katie, who I think is very involved on the offensive side of things. What is it like playing for this staff? For people who are not around them, what can you just tell us about the day-to-day of developing and learning under this coaching staff?
They're so much fun to be around. They bring the family feel and the family atmosphere to the softball team just because our whole staff is super close and you can feel it, you can see it, and they want you to join in with them, and it's hard not to. So, just seeing them every day makes me happy. And, just being around them, they're all different, very different, personality wise. So you just get something new every day. And, there's a fine line between having fun, also, getting back to work, and it's business here, just having good feel. And, I don't know, it's really hard to explain it, but there's only one word that comes to mind, and it's family. They're definitely like family, and they love to bring that feel around, the atmosphere at the softball field.
Well, it definitely appears to be working, certainly with the results last year. And let's go off the field a little bit here. And just in terms of day-to-day non-softball things, any hobbies, anything that when you're not training, you're not practicing at all, what is kind of taking up your time other than just hanging out with their teammates? Is there anything, or is it all ball?
I would say for myself, I like to try new coffee spots. That's making my own matcha, and I love to bake. I really love to bake.
Okay.
Today I'm actually going to bake a pumpkin spice monkey bread with a maple glaze on top. I'm going to attempt to, and I'm making it all from scratch. So, but I just developed a new baking hobby this past summer, and yeah.
That's cool. And so we're like we said earlier, September 1, so pumpkin spice, very fitting. Hopefully you're about to get into some fall weather, it sounds like. What is your I guess, approach in terms of baking recipes? Are we getting these from like TikTok, or what's your, do you have an approach to that?
Yeah, I'm definitely getting them from TikTok. My interest page, my For You page, is now on all the pumpkin spice drinks, pumpkin desserts, like pumpkin breakfast. Like I'm on everything, and which is nice because I'm practicing now. So when I go home for Thanksgiving, I can make all these desserts for my family.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was literally about to say, like, once those algorithms figure out that one little thing about you, like, they are gonna hammer you with it. So I figured you're getting all the recipes right now. Hey, let's show some love to a local coffee joint. Is there one? You said you like to try different ones. Is anybody have the lead right now? Is anybody like recently that you really enjoyed, or?
Not yet. I don't think I'm ordering the right thing. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's on you. So I will. Okay. I'll keep that in mind, though.
You have to get back to us on that one.
Yeah, I definitely will.
I've got, you know what? I've got a couple off air. I will give you a couple of recommendations. I've got my number one.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, I'll throw you that. Food. What's like? We always ask people like kind of that. If you could have any plate of food on the planet, doesn't have to be like from a restaurant or anything specific like that. Like it could be mom's this, grandma's that, or just more in general this type of food. What's the perfect plate? What's going on there?
Well, right now I'm also into cooking too. So right now I'm really into Alfredo pasta with chicken and like the cheesy garlic bread, but I make my own Alfredo sauce and I make my own chicken. So like I like it the way I make it.
Well, and yeah, you can, if you do it like that, you can, tweak it to exactly what you want. Yeah. And that's exciting. That's cool. How I can feel your joy on this cooking and baking thing. Like I feel like we've tapped into something here. What how regimented is nutrition for you guys, especially like in season? Like how big is that aspect of this? It seems like in college athletics, every athlete is talking about, like protein intake and making sure that you hit all these like macro goals as well. What does that aspect of it look like for you guys?
I would say fueling your body is super important. We're very big on, protein and hydration. Mm-hmm. So like we take hydration tests every single week. Our nutritionists, our trainers are very big on like, protein drinks to make sure you intake protein and, the right amount of carbs, like depending on like what we're doing. But nutrition goes a long way, not just in sports, but also outside. And, not a lot of people see what you put in your body. So it's, what you do behind the scenes is what's really important, and it'll show on the field.
For sure. And let's see, as we close this thing out, moving forward, what was it like last year, kind of experiencing regional softball in Columbia, then super regional softball in Columbia? I know it didn't quite end exactly the way everybody around here wanted it to, but just the atmospheres seemed incredible. Like that was true, like postseason playoff feel softball. Some amazing moments as y'all made that run. What was it like just kind of being in that stadium and experiencing the vibes and just the feeling of those fans around you guys?
Oh, wow. It's everything a player should experience, playing out your home field and, it is hot outside, the sun is on you, and just seeing all those fans still come out for us. It just brings so much joy to the player because it's like, wow, I play here. Like this is like all these people are coming out to support softball, and it's just starting to become a bigger sport here at this school. just because of, our historic run last year. So, yeah, huge thank you to the fans. It brings us more energy in the dugout. It helps us, be more comfortable at the field because we know that all the fans are here for us and supporting us.
Final season for you coming up, second season at South Carolina. What are the goals and what is it going to take to kind of take what happened last year and just maybe take it that one little step forward? Like what's your mindset, I guess, just as you kind of look ahead to this 2025-2026 year?
Well, as a team, our goal is to go to the World Series. And, what I want out of this team, I would say, is to, just bring the fight. I want all of your 100 and whatever you have in the tank, bring it out, and to, just embrace the journey, embrace the people that are around you, the people that you're playing with. And because I think we're in the same boat as we were last year, where it's like, half our returners and then half our, new players. So it's like, we already have the gelling part of it. Now it's just gelling on the field once we all practice together, which I don't think we'll have a problem with because of how much we gel outside of softball. But, just going forward, playing for each other, playing for our why, and to, lean on each other because this season will go by very fast, just like any other season. Softball season goes by so fast. It's crazy. But, just take it all in.
Quincy, this has been great. We'll let you get back to the rest of your day here, but thank you for taking the time to let Gamecock Nation get to know you a little bit more on and off the field. And good luck this season. We'll be pulling for you, and let's do this again sometime, okay?
Yep. Thank you so much. Go Cox.
All right. She is Quincy Lilio, Gamecock softball senior. Y'all go check them out in person this year and on SEC Network Plus. You can watch all the games on there as well. I'm Wes Mitchell. We got to take another quick break here, and then our guy Tyler Head will be back in the seat here on The Game. This has been the Garnet Trust Hour, the Quincy Lilio and Wes Mitchell.
All right, everyone, as we roll into the second half of the Garnet Trust Hour, tell you about our friends over at Classic Roofing. That's classicroofingsc.com. That's where you can go to learn more. 803-590-7870. Residential and commercial roofers, Joe Reeder, Max Sawyer. Families that live right here in the Midlands, and reliable GAF certified roofers right near you. Only about 7% of roofers in the entire country have that certification. Customer satisfaction is guaranteed. We know that taking good care of your roof can be challenging, but the good news, you don't have to go at it alone. You can trust the folks over at Classic Roofing who are here for all your roofing needs: inspections, installations, replacements, repairs. They can do all of it. ClassicRoofingSC.com. Again, or 803-590-7870. Use their virtual design tool to visualize your new roof online. Solutions, no nonsense, no dishonesty, no gimmicks, headaches, or problems. ClassicRoofingSC.com.
All right, welcome back in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler Head, Jack Belcher, and Chris Clark along with you here on the game. We appreciate Quincy Lelio for sitting down with Wes Mitchell there. You just heard their conversation at the beginning of the hour, and hopefully 2026 is another fun year for Gamecock softball, as year one under Astrid Chastain Woodard was certainly a lot of fun. We get back into college football now. Jack and I talked about this briefly yesterday. We didn't get a chance to get to it in the takeover hour, but Chris, your assessment of what you saw between Alabama and Florida State on Saturday?
Surprising. I mean, wouldn't that word just kind of sum it up a little bit?
Sure.
Lee Corso, who apparently, I mean, my man was on one for his last day.
He went out swinging.
He's like, I'm going to pick everything right.
And all the schools I coached at are going to win, too.
Right. Well, and it was kind of like the Ohio. Didn't he say with Ohio State, he's like, you don't have a chance, but I'm still going to pick you anyway, like type of thing. Like it was almost a sentimental pick. The FSU thing,
sure,
of course, sentimental.
Something like where a lot of people were just picking Texas and not giving Ohio State a chance.
Okay, that was it.
I think that's what he was getting.
I kind of misheard.
I think it was kind of like satirical, like,
yeah,
oh, poor Ohio State doesn't have a chance. You know, give me that headgear.
There you go,
type thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of his picks were a little sentimental, but they worked. So that was, I mean, you can't script that.
You can't.
You can't script that any better. But look, like, I think, first of all, Florida State's year last season obviously was really surprising because you go from getting very controversially left out of the playoff, you're 13-0, you get smoked in your bowl game, but it's kind of like, whatever. And then you go into the next year, and expectations for some people were high. I mean, we all remember when they played in Ireland against Georgia Tech. What were they, number 8?
I think they were 8.
Like that?
Or they were in the top 10.
They lose, and it went downhill. They go 2-10. I don't think, even if you weren't an FSU believer last year, you probably didn't pick 2-10. So that was kind of, I think, worst-case scenario shocker. Were they that horrific of a program where they should have gone 2-10? Probably not. And so maybe we undersold their chances, except for Lee Corso, a little bit going into this game. I think I looked at Alabama, I'll be honest, guys, going into this year, and I was kind of going, I think people are maybe, aside from their quarterback question, which is a big one, are people kind of underselling Bama? Man, they've got a ton of talent on that team. They got a lot of guys back, kind of had a down year, probably be better in year 2 under Kalen DeBoer. A lot of the problems we saw last year, still very much there. And I think the most alarming thing, this is actually the thing that everybody's talking about more than them losing a football game, is the stuff you see on tape with the effort, the loafs. Everybody's talking about it. Kalen DeBoer hasn't been able to hide from it. He had to kind of address it at his press conference. That's the part that's extremely alarming, and that you look out there and you're going, are these guys actually even playing hard in their first game of the season?
You would never see this under Nick Saban. I think we said it for a lot of things with Alabama and Saban not being here, but effort was something you would never, like, we've seen, there are literal highlight reels out there of him getting so pissed off to where he's screaming and yelling. I always think of the one from LSU where he's yelling and then Will Muschamp is literally yelling right behind him, doing like it was like perfect right there.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what Saban expected. The standard was excellence, and we just haven't really seen that at Alabama. Now, who knows what goes on behind the scenes or whatever, but when you have to question effort, something is obviously wrong. And I've seen a lot of people bring up, like literally 5 minutes after the game ended, I saw a story posted somewhere about what Kalen DeBoer's buyout is, and that's concerning that we're talking about, like, people want him gone. Like, as if they didn't want, like, even on Alabama's, like, message boards and stuff. I saw a coaching hot board put together by some, member of Bama Online on
standard message board behavior.
Like, it's that bad. And I don't think you're going, I mean, you could fire him if you want to, but just know the buyout is going to be around $69 to $7 million after this year. So, it's not going to be cheap. So hopefully the Alabama boosters are ready to pitch in and help out with that, because that would be really bad.
My favorite mad Nick Saban moment was when he chewed out A.J. McCarron when they were up by 30 in the fourth quarter of the national championship against Notre Dame, when they had the game well in hand, and he still wasn't pleased.
Yeah,
that was
absolutely
classic.
No let up with that guy.
But you made reference earlier to Kalen DeBoer, and things in his press conference yesterday, because it didn't get a whole lot better when he was addressing the media yesterday, that's for sure.
You mentioned the great week before the game. Just how much do you self-scout the preparation before games, and are there times as a coach where maybe you notice during the week that things might not be going the way that you want them to?
You said, what do you mean, great week?
A great week. You said a great week of preparation.
For this week, you're saying, or are you referring to last
going
week?
up to Florida State before that game.
I said that?
You said that, yeah, before.
Oh, just,
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Doesn't exactly reinforce whatever little belief people may still have in him as of right now. Things are not good in Tuscaloosa. And look, they've got talent, right? I know they're dealing with some guys that were injured on Saturday, but again, we had never seen a team, A, lack the effort like that, and B, just get pushed around. Because that was the thing. They just lacked physicality. Florida State bullied them the entire game. When's the last time you saw anybody run against Alabama like that at will? I mean, Castellanos only threw a handful of passes in the game because they're able to run at such a high clip every single time. Like, Alabama never gets dominated in a facet of the game like that. Rarely.
And if they even, you can go point to some games where they gave up points, but you didn't question the effort. You didn't say, oh, they're getting pushed around. Typically, they were going against some high-octane offense, Johnny Manziel or, a few times Auburn, Clemson, when those guys would meet in the playoffs when they had, Watson or Lawrence. Like, teams like that, it's a different conversation right now, And, man, Tommy Castellanos,
he backed it up.
I still don't think that was a great move to say that. I don't want to be like the class police, so that's not very classy. I didn't think it was a great idea, but he did back it up. I mean, he was right. He had T-shirts printed. I mean, Nick Saban was absolutely not there to save him this time. So, look, are we – I don't know. Are we or aren't we overreacting? Time will tell. What you saw in week one was certainly concerning. I think the quarterback question is still very much a question, but now you have more questions about this Bama team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're South Carolina, you're watching that week one and you're going, this is maybe not an easy game, but
sure.
Do you kind of adjust your expectations now?
And it benefits Carolina. This game will be played in Williams-Brice Stadium because the thing about DeBoer, when he does lose, it is typically on the road. Here's some road numbers for Kalen DeBoer's tenure at Alabama so far through 14 games. And this counts neutral site as well, so this will count the bowl game against Michigan. 2-5 overall record in road neutral site. They score 17 fewer points on the road. They allow an average of 10 more points on the road. They average 133 less yards on the road as well. And here's the thing, too. This isn't just for road and neutral games. This is across all 14 games that he's coached. I heard this stat and was surprised by it. They have not been out-penalized by any opponent. They've either had more or the exact same number as every single opponent they've played, including on Saturday against Florida State, in the DeBoer era so far. Talk about undisciplined.
And penalties have been an issue for Alabama over the years, even going back to Nick Saban's tenure. I mean, I remember there were games where they would have so many mistakes in terms of penalties, but it seems to be a consistent problem under Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. I mean, I think the Vanderbilt game last year was really, really bad with penalties in that one, and obviously they lost that game, and this was the case again today, or on Saturday. It's just they've had a lot of trouble winning games on the road, but they've also just had a lot of issues in general, and I think a lot of people expected Alabama to be a lot better this year. I picked them to finish second in the SEC in the preseason media poll, getting to the SEC championship game, but you ask me right now, I think this team maybe could sniff 8 wins. I mean, I'm not very high on them at the moment.
What do you think Kalen DeBoer is thinking right now after he got now maybe they go on and they have a great year.
They could.
They could.
Sure.
College football is a surprising sport. Chris Peterson used to boat to work at Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't you think Kalen DeBoer's like, maybe I could have just hung out there for a while longer?
I could have had a statue in Seattle before too long.
He could have.
Yeah. Now he's I don't know. The seat's getting hot, that's for sure.
He'll have pitchforks out there in front of his front yard, though. So
they're not already out there. We'll see. We'll take a look at the rest of the SEC as we wrap up hour number 2 at the Garnet Trust Hour, presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating on your Tuesday here on the game.
You mentioned the great week before the game. Just how much do you self-scout the preparation before games, and are there times as a coach where maybe you notice during the week that things might not be going?
All right, welcome back in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour, presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler Head, Jack Belcher, and Chris Clark along with you, wrapping up hour number 2. Of course, yesterday focused in a lot on the highlights of the SEC weekend, which did include South Carolina beating Virginia Tech. Texas did fall to Ohio State. LSU pulled off a thriller against Clemson. Of course, Alabama lost to Florida State. A lot of teams in the SEC playing, lesser opponents, FCS, Group of 5, that kind of stuff. One game that hasn't gotten a lot of attention, though, I did want to note on real quick, Tennessee absolutely dominating Syracuse in Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Saturday. After watching that game and then watching UCLA and Utah that night, I believe, at least for now, Tennessee has won the Nico trade, to say the least.
Yeah, fair to say. Nico probably looked out in the stands at the UCLA game and was like, "Oh, there's not many people here." But guys, the good news is, now Deshaun Foster loved watching him play for my Panthers back in the day.
Yep,
this is different. He's transitioned to a coaching phase, so I'm going to separate the two in my mind. The good news is that Deshaun Foster's not letting players speak to the media, so they'll start winning lots of games now because there's a correlation, obviously, between that.
Yeah.
And yes, tongue firmly in cheek. Yeah, Tennessee looked good, man.
No, I mean, Joey Aguilar looked amazing. I mean, 247 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. You take it. I mean, that's a very good performance right there. Now, the completion percentage, I think you'd like to be a little bit higher at 57%. But, I mean, with Tennessee's offense and the pieces that they have and having a quarterback that can sling it around, I mean, that's exactly what you need. And we had a lot of questions about Tennessee and them coming into the year. I think a lot of people were not very high on them coming into the season. But I think that tune has kind of changed a little bit, at least after this week. Again, they'll have tough games coming up against Bama, Georgia, teams like that. Very soon, Florida, of course. But for now, I mean, Tennessee looked very, very good in week 1.
And again, that's a formidable Syracuse team that really surprised a lot of people last year. Well, they won 9 games, I believe. Obviously knocked Miami out of contention for the ACC and college football playoff right there in the last week of the regular season. So they weren't a slouch by any means. But, I mean, yeah, you drop in Aguilar. And my question was, okay, how's he going to fit inside of that offensive scheme of Josh Heupel? Because it's not for everyone, but dang, it looked like he fit perfectly on Saturday.
He did. And, I appreciated, actually, going back to their opponent, Syracuse, Fran Brown, who definitely tells it like it is. I kind of appreciated after the game that he said, look, we have players. We just didn't execute. He didn't try to do the thing that we've seen other coaches do lately. What was it? Charles Huff. Basically, well, they spent $15 million on their O-line and D-line, which maybe that's true. I don't know. That's a lot.
That's a lot of money.
You got Mike Gundy out there saying that, Dan Lanning, that Oregon should play teams that are more along their budget, but Oklahoma State just played, I don't know who.
Lanning, by the way, fired back this morning. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that. But Tennessee, I was actually talking about this over the weekend after watching them, and I guess I had just not realized that they were ranked 24th in the AP poll. They were 18th in the coaches poll. And I get that they lost some talent, to whether it's to the pros, transfer, whatever. It was a playoff team last year.
Yep.
It seems like generally you get credit. South Carolina is getting some preseason credit for what they did last year and having some key pieces come back, but they also lost a lot. I felt like Tennessee was almost a little undervalued, and maybe, week 1 proved that.
Yeah, maybe so. And we'll get the AP poll coming out here in about 2 hours or so, or a little over an hour, excuse me, and we'll see if they make any kind of significant jump there. One team that Carolina's going to see here in a couple weeks that did not impress anybody in week number 1 out of the SEC was Kentucky. It was a slog of a game against Toledo. I think this was one of the betting favorites in terms of an underdog covering the spread, which they absolutely did, as things don't look too great up there in the Bluegrass State right now, at least out of the gate so far in week number 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kentucky's the worst team in the SEC. I think they're worse than Mississippi State. And, they have Blake Sharp. I mean, I'm being honest. I mean, they have Blake Sharpen back. So I think that's a big piece to have. And we'll see if he could stay fully healthy. That would be really big. But, Zach Calzada, he's at Incarnate Ward, Texas A&M.
Auburn, right?
Auburn.
Yep.
Am I missing another school? 10 of 23 for 85 yards and an interception. I mean, now they had a pretty good game running the football, 220 yards and 3 touchdowns. But again, it's against Toledo. But, I mean, hey, you want to find some good there, I guess that's where you find it.
Are you disrespecting the Rockets?
The Rockets.
Yeah. Yes. Disrespect intended?
No, because they put
right, just making sure.
Toledo.
We always have to.
Don't sleep on the MAC. But still, you should be able. If you're an SEC team, you should be able. I don't care if it's Kentucky. You should be able to take care of opponents like this. And they certainly They got the job done, but it wasn't necessarily pretty.
Well, Carolina's going to see that Kentucky team coming up here in a couple weeks, and thankfully you don't have to see Tennessee this year, at least in the regular season, because they look pretty dangerous. So there's your wrap of the SEC for the weekend. We'll dive back into what happened with Carolina on Sunday that we didn't get to yesterday. Coming up next in the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs here near Tuesday on the Game.
All right, everyone, as we close out the show and roll into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, let's tell you about our friends over at Integrated Media. Michael, Nathan, their team, local, reliable, super knowledgeable, anything that you may need at your home or your business from a tech, audio-visual standpoint, they can handle it for you. Everything from making your brand new man cave, tricking out your patio, making sure that your Wi-Fi is running smooth at your home so that you can stream all this amazing college football action that we've been talking about all year. They can do it for you. It's a true one-stop shop. You can visit their showroom up in Chapin. You can check them out online at integratedmediainc.com. Check out their Instagram and Facebook for some examples of their past work at Integrated Media Columbia. They've been to my home. They've been to Wes's home. Everything from mounting a new television for you to wireless speakers to fixing your Wi-Fi. The folks at Integrated Media can do it for you. 803-948-8327, integratedmediainc.com.
All right, welcome in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Hett, Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell along with you here on your Tuesday on the game as we navigate our way through the week, coming away from week number 1, which officially went in the books last night with North Carolina getting demolished by TCU, as we talked about a little bit there in the first hour of the show. But week 1 officially in the books, guys. We hit on as much as we could in 1 hour yesterday, but I think it's a good thing that there's so many things to get to. We didn't have a chance to get to all of it yesterday that we'll have time to talk about here in this hour.
Yeah, I know one of the discussion points that we wanted to get to today was the game that one Nicholas Harbor had.
Yes.
So, Tyler, I don't know if I'm messing up your mental schedule here, but I think that's a good starting point.
For Reaction Mondays and expanding this to Tuesday because we didn't get to everything yesterday, I just kind of have a list of things that I jot down that we can go in any order that you want.
Okay.
There's no flow to this.
Yeah,
whatever comes up first.
Yeah.
But Nick Harbor, obviously the 64-yard touchdown spoke for itself. I do so many shows, I can't remember if we talked about it or not. Did we discuss what should have been the second touchdown at any point yesterday?
Not really.
Not the three of us.
I mean, we referenced it.
We can all agree, right, Wes, that he should have had an additional touchdown earlier on in the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about that play. Like, a lot of these rules come down to interpretation, right?
Yeah.
And I think we all, for the most part, know what a catch looks like. And that's a catch. Now, they've tried to, like, I guess it's codify it, the word. Like, they've tried to take a catch and put it into words to where there is no interpretation. And by doing that, you really create a scenario where something that everybody, like, you know it when you see it and everybody knows that's a catch, down to the very exact detail of that rule, it may not be a catch. I think it is more about we've got to tweak the rule a little bit. And here's the part even of the rule, though, that I don't understand is, okay, you have to complete the catch to the ground. And what does that even mean? Like, did the ball touch the ground? I know the ball moved. I never saw it touch the ground in the views they gave us. So if he has originally controlled the football, he's got 2 feet down, he is moving the ball. Like, there are parts of that where the ball is moving because he is controlling the ball to move it, which to me, I mean, I don't know how that's not a football move if you are taking steps and then controlling the ball and getting it out. Then, like, do you have to literally control the ball all the way to the ground, or does it have to just at that point not hit the ground? Like, I don't quite understand. And, you know, I know there's a difference. If you're in the field of play and you cross the goal line, that is a touchdown because you already possessed the ball. So the catch rule is all about when do you possess the ball. It's just there's not a lot. It's kind of like targeting, depending on the crew, depending on who maybe happens to be viewing the replay when it gets sent in. It's going to be a different interpretation, and it's just very, I think, frustrating for fans to look at it and your brain says, oh, that is a catch. But the little minute detail of this rule says maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Yeah, I don't know if it's bad radio, guys, to read some of the elements of what a catch is per the NCAA, but it might help. You know, so there are 3 main parts for a catch. You secure firm control with your hand or arm of a live ball before it touches the ground. That's obvious. Actually, you can catch a ball with your legs. They should probably add that. We've seen that.
We have.
You know, some of those crazy catches.
Or any part of your body.
Any part of your body,
you could
really.
Trap it with your neck and shoulder.
Yes.
If you wanted to.
The helmet catch.
The helmet
You're
catch.
Right. Touch the ground inbounds with any part of your body, and then maintain control of the ball long enough to enable the player to perform an act common to the game. Now, that is where it gets
football move.
Well, yeah, it's the football move. But then there are other things here, and this would be bad radio if I read all that. But, maintaining complete and continuous control of the ball through the process of contacting the ground, whether in the field of play or in the end zone. Okay, so complete and continuous control if you're going to the ground. If you lose control of the ball while simultaneously touching the ground, it's not a catch, according to the rule book.
And if the ball spit out when he hit the ground, okay, fine.
Now,
I can live with that, but it didn't.
Here's the third part, okay? If the ball touches the ground after the player secures control and continues to maintain control, and the elements are satisfied as a catch. So, I mean, gosh, even in there, like it seems really specific.
Go back to not the last one, Chris. Go back to the one before that.
If the player loses control of the ball while simultaneously touching the ground with any part of his body, or if there's a doubt that the acts are simultaneous, it's not a catch. If a player has control of the ball, a slight movement of the ball, even if it touches the ground, will not be considered loss of possession. That was the part. I didn't even read that second part, which is kind of important.
Right. It's very much going the way, I'm sure we all remember this from common law, of the way that Supreme Court Justice talked about obscenity. I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. It's like, well, I can't tell you what a catch is, but I can look at that and say, well, I feel like that's a catch.
I mean, did that, when you had me reread that, Wes, was there any, because I added a part, I didn't add it, I read an additional part. Did that clarify it at all for you?
No, I mean, I'm still very confused. I think what got him, and I think how they're interpreting it, when he hits the ground, the ball does move.
Yep.
And to the extent that if he already had possession and that movement was the beginning of a fumble, we would be going, oh, the ball is coming out. And so I think they interpret the rule right now like you have to maintain possession and you have to maintain control of the ball all the way through to the ground. And whether that is a good rule or not, they may have gotten it right by the silly rule, like by the absolute letter of the law. Again, it looks like a catch to all of us.
Right.
I mean, if you're taking two steps, like at what point are we saying that's not a football move that you're taking two steps? And the thing that told me he had control of the ball was that he was moving the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like he's pulling the ball away from the defender after he has caught it. So to me, that once you have firm possession of the ball and you are taking two steps, this was not just a toe tap of 2 feet. This was literally running with the ball as you went out of bounds, basically, in my opinion.
Well, regardless, he still got another touchdown later in the game. Chris, anything else?
I was just going to say, Wes, I think you could actually argue that he got 3 feet down. Like he had a foot on the ground when he first started to catch it. Maybe you say that doesn't count. He doesn't actually control it then. The ball did move a little bit, as he's going to ground. I don't know. I might rewatch this thing like the Zapruder film and then actually write something on it based on these rules, because I was just looking at the rules this morning and maybe I'm open to even changing my mind on it, but it certainly looked like a catch.
And that was the controversy of the day for Carolina there. He did end up having a legitimate touchdown later in the game, 64 yards on the post route. And I said Sunday when that happened, that's the touchdown we've all been waiting 3 years for, right? Where the one where he just legitimately shows off his speed, runs past the defender, the safeties were playing down, so there wasn't anybody waiting over the top to act as that last line of defense. He just outran the guy that was covering him, caught the ball in stride, and there was no catching him at that point. Like, we've been waiting for that exact touchdown to happen for years now.
Beautiful setup on that play. You run that kind of diamond formation. You have been earlier in the game hard-headed running the football, even though it's not like you were picking up. You weren't out there getting. You had some chunks in the game, but sometimes the run game was stymied. You come out, you very much give the look that you're running the football. Virginia Tech walks the safety down in the box. You got a one-on-one with the corner, which is exactly what you want. And very quickly, it happened fast. Very quickly, Nick Harbor's running past the corner. You can even see on the replay, the corner, I don't know if he was trying to press a little bit. He was up close to the line, but he missed him. He didn't get a hand on him. He tries to reach out and grab Nick. He's fine pulling him down there and take the penalty and live another day. He couldn't even get him. He reached his arm out, couldn't grab him. Ball's in the air. When I saw that ball go in the air live in the stadium, for a fleeting moment, I was like, Lenoris overthrew him a little bit, and then I remembered that Nick Harbor was running, and he was going to have a chance to get there. So, beautiful play, and you're right, Tyler. That's the one everybody's been waiting on.
I just love, Chris, you talked about it a little bit. I just love the whole setup of the thing. Like, it felt like you were in pound the football, conservative mode. Every coach, especially like an O-line coach, wants, hey, we're going to sock this thing away with our offensive line, running the football, and we're going to run the clock out. And everything about the setup of that play said that's what we're doing. Even, the diamond formation typically is something where you're going to get some type of misdirection, some type of read option to where, if you're a defender, if you're a linebacker, if you're that safety creeping up, you're trying to be on your P's and Q's about what run kind of key you need to be looking at, watching the ball handling of the quarterback for which way is this run going, and then boom, you throw the ball right down the field, play action, touchdown. I've always thought one of the best parts about Lenoris Sellers' game is his deep ball, the touch he puts on it. We've seen some of those hit. We've seen some of those dropped downfield where it's been a perfect throw from him. And, game one, for example, last year comes to mind. And I just thought everything about that in terms of the play call, the execution, the thought process behind it was great to see. And before I forget, let's give a little love to Nick Harbor running down there on punt coverage as the gunner. What a great role for him. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Pete Limbo putting our guy Zabo Liget out there as the gunner, and you're kind of saying, wait, what? That's how they're using Liget this year? And then, excels in it. And we have seen South Carolina, I think, put an emphasis as something Limbo always said, like, hey, that's a spot you guys, talking about us, media fans, you guys don't talk about the gunner spot a lot. You're more interested in kick returns and punt returners, the kicker. But that gunner position is very important to special team success. And, shout out to Nick for, one, being willing, two, doing it with effort. And then if you have those two things, man, yet another way that he can use this 6'5", 230-pound, 10-1 frame and speed.
3 catches, 99 yards, and that 1 touchdown for Nick Harbor. Great start to the season for what we hope is going to be the breakout year for number 8. We'll talk about Lenoris Sellers coming up next, and his performance from Sunday as the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs rolls along on your Tuesday here on The Game. And welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris, along with you on your Tuesday here on the game. Reminder, Coach Beamer speaking today at 1 o'clock for his usual Tuesday press conference. Now that they're playing on Saturday this week, all the schedules are back to normal, unlike Wednesday of last week. But he's coming up today at 1 o'clock, and we'll hear his thoughts ahead of South Carolina State this weekend. Yes, Wes?
I really don't want to just make this whole show about what is a catch, but I was doing a little research during the break. I have something else to complain about real quick. Chris, was there anything in the rule about contact with the defender playing a part in deciding if there is a catch or not?
Yes.
That you notice?
Yes. Let me find that. Okay. It says this. I don't know if this helps you or is this what you mean. If a player goes to the ground in the act of catching a pass, parentheses, with or without contact by an opponent, close parentheses, he must maintain complete and continuous control of the ball throughout the process of contacting the ground.
Okay, so guys, I hate to bring this game up again in the year 2025, but the worst call in the South Carolina LSU game last year may not have been any call that everybody talked about all offseason. Do y'all remember the non-catch by Kyron Lacey on the sideline down near the South Carolina goal line that initially was called not a catch?
Yes.
That got overturned to a catch and basically put LSU in position for the game-winning touchdown. I went back and looked at that because I was like, I remember thinking that play should not have been a catch. And it basically has every element of the Nick Harbor catch we saw. 2 feet down. He has control of the ball. He's hit. He's going out of bounds. He hits the ground and the ball goes flying. Like it wasn't even like there was no possession at the end of the play. And they overturned it and they said the receiver had possession of the ball, took 2 steps prior to contact with a defender, which I don't even know why he would include that in the explanation, and then doesn't even acknowledge the fact that he hit the ground and the ball came out. Like, to me, that is one of the most egregious examples of this rule being interpreted opposite of what we saw on Sunday for South Carolina and Nick Harbor. Arguably a worst call given what we saw Sunday than maybe every other call in that game except for the phantom offensive PI that I've still yet to find.
That's a mouthful because, man, there are some rough ones in that. By the way, I wonder if those guys are working games this year.
Was that an SEC crew on Sunday, by the way? Do we know? Do you remember? They announced that before the game?
What'd you say, Wes?
I think it wasn't.
Okay.
I didn't recognize
I
the
heard ACC
officials. It may have been ACC, which, by the way, I don't like when they use the accrue of one of the teams. I would rather them go out and get, like, a crew from a conference not involved. So at least you have some, like,
some plausible
deniability, right? Because when things go against you, you're like, oh, it's an ACC crew, not calling it for South Carolina. Like, you can avoid that.
The one more piece I'll say for today on the Harbor thing is I think you have to say that if it's a catch, I do think you have to say that he had control already, had completed the catch, and it was a touchdown prior to him going out of bounds, because then it doesn't matter, right? It's not the same, but similar to if a guy catches a ball, starts celebrating, runs out of bounds, and a defender comes up and swipes it away from him, right? Because then he's already caught the ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're saying, okay, he did not have control of the ball quite yet when he got those 2 feet in, he's still like securing the catch. Now he's going out of bounds. Now a defender touches it. Now you're going to ground and the ball pops loose a little bit. Does he, doesn't he? That's where it gets murky to where you could certainly make the argument, hey, that's not a catch. But if you look back at that thing and you say he's already caught it, he's controlled it, he's made a football move, it's a touchdown, we don't care what happens when he's falling out of bounds. I think that's the argument.
Go watch during the break the play I'm talking about in the LSU game.
Pulling up now. Yep.
By the way, Elijah said that was a Big 12 crew on Sunday, not an ACC crew. So that was
there you go.
A crew not involved with
Thank you, Elijah.
either conference. Though the Big 12, if you watched enough of their games last year, they had their own share of controversies and not calling things correctly too. So it's an endemic across all of college football. Unfortunately,
yeah, they all struggle.
They all do. Anyways, let's talk about Lenore Sellers. What did Coach Beamer have to say about Lenore Sellers on Sunday? Here is that.
Yeah, he's a stud. He'll be the first to tell you he missed some throws as well, and could have been better. The one where we got the safety, we had a couple guys open over on the left side that would have liked to have gotten the ball to quicker. The third down, the Mazio as well. So he'll be the first to tell you. But he's just a guy. He's a super competitive guy. And, we gave him a game ball in there just because he made so many individual efforts. You think about we're trying to run out the clock, and there's about 3 people sitting there ready to hit him, and he scrambles down the sideline and gets a first down a couple times and keeps us from having to punt the ball back to them. That was what was awesome to see. Just that's who he is, and Bill Roth. And to see him do that, that's who he is.
12-19 on the day, 209 through the air, 1 touchdown, that one being to Nick Harbor. 13 carries, 25 yards. That's a little bit skewed because of the sacks, calculated into that. Of course, as Beamer alluded to there, could have gotten the ball away maybe a little bit quicker in that situation than ended up being the safety, but obviously his legs ended up being a big part of them salting that game away at the very end, as well as on that first drive where he ran in for the touchdown. So solid day all around. This isn't going to be the game I think they talk about if he's, on the stage in New York for the Heisman Trophy, but a good solid start of the season nonetheless as he's, getting up to speed with all of his new pieces on offense and everything like that with Shula as the new play caller too.
Yeah, I think you look back at this game for Lenoris and there were some ups and some downs. I think to start with the positives, that first drive, you see on a third down, Lenoris does Lenoris things, finishes that run. Virginia Tech, they gave kind of an effort. Looked like that. Who wants a 6'4", 240? You don't really have a chance. Guys ends up on the ground pulling on his jersey. Lenoris just standing there. We saw it in some of the scrambles. The beautiful deep ball to Harbor. Some of the tough running, being able to escape like we saw those things. At the same time, do you look back at that game and say there's still a lot to improve on here? Certainly. I think, a couple times where got to get the ball out a little quicker, a couple times where you misfire on a throw. I think there are some things still he could get a lot better at, and I think he will. I think, that will not be, I don't think, 16's best game this year. I think he did some of the things that we've somehow become accustomed to seeing, which is crazy, that he can do with his legs. We saw the arm talent. I think there's more here where he can continue getting better. Guys only played, yesterday, Wes, on our podcast, I said, this is game 14. It's not even that. He's missed time to where he doesn't even have a full season as a starter under his belt.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. We already have such high expectations for what he can do. And we saw flashes of that, he played well enough for South Carolina to win. If that play we've been talking about is ruled a catch, now you're talking about, 13 for 19, another 9 yards, another touchdown in there. Maybe the numbers look a little bit different then. I think the beauty of it is that we saw him play well enough to win without even really having his best game. We're going to see him take over some games, obviously. And, I do think they are being, I don't want to say careful, but they are probably being at least cognizant about the workload for him in a long season. There will be times where they will ask him to go be Superman, to carry the ball, 15 plus times, all these different things. But for the most part, I think a lot of the plan on Sunday was to, hey, go manage the game, take off running when you need to, but we're not going to get you beat up at the very beginning of a long season with very high expectations. And, even from a number standpoint, guys, you got to remember, this was a very shortened game. Virginia Tech was being very deliberate on offense. You only ran 50 or so plays for South Carolina on offense. So it's not like you really even were on the field a ton to rack up a bunch of yardage for him or these wide receivers or anybody. So I don't put a ton of stock in the stats. The other wide receivers, like people have been talking or asking, like, hey, where's Mazio? Where was Murph? Where's Brian Rowe? And I get it. Like, yeah, I think those guys are going to play a major role this season. But just the way this game played out, the way it progressed, it did not kind of market itself into being one where you could put up a bunch of yards. It really, as the game went on, became a win and advance type game.
We'll take a look at the defense and the injury to Judge Collier coming up next as the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs rolls along on your Tuesday on the game. Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West Chris with you on your Tuesday here on the game, putting the bow on South Carolina's 24-11 victory over Virginia Tech on Sunday to start the season. One of the negatives of the game was, of course, the injury to Judge Collier very early on in the game as South Carolina lost one of their starting cornerbacks. Coach Beamer addressed Collier's injury on Sunday after the game, as well as talked about the 50-50 balls that the corners did have a little bit of a problem with against that Virginia Tech offense.
They did. We got to be better about playing the ball in the air. I mean, our guys are in position, and their receivers are good. I mean, the what is it, Zero, the guy that transferred from Wake Forest. I mean, you watch his Wake Forest tape. He made a lot of one-on-one catches like that and knew he was a weapon for them. And they did a nice job. And, disappointed that on those 50-50 balls that they came down with them too many times. But proud of our guys. I mean, we were rolling guys in there. I mean, Judge got hurt, to answer your question, to be determined. It's a little bit of a knee injury right now. We'll see when we get back to Columbia. But he was not able to return, obviously. And then, Brandon Cisse, Miles Norwood, they're in there. DeMarcus Leach is in there as a true freshman, came in there. We didn't really anticipate him playing, but he's in there playing today and whatnot. So losing Judge was a big loss, but those other guys stepped up, and then certainly, that'll be a point of emphasis for us in practice this week. We've got to be better at playing those 50-50 balls in the air.
Again, we'll hear from Beamer coming up in about an hour and a half. I'm sure he'll address plays on Judge Collier, but you saw he had the brace on when he came back to the sidelines after going out, so it certainly doesn't look good, and we'll see what he has to say about that. But on the day, for some of those balls that the Virginia Tech receivers caught, you got to tip your cap because there was some good coverage, especially on the ones that Cisse gave up where you're all over him doing everything you can. They were just making spectacular plays, but fortunately that didn't come back to hurt South Carolina at the end of the day.
Yeah, that was the negative there. I mean, if you're the Gamecocks, aside from maybe an instance or two on deep balls, one-on-one situations deep, you weren't seeing Virginia Tech guys just run by you. There was the one overthrow that Jones had into the end zone that probably would have been a touchdown where he kind of extended that play a little bit. That was the exception, but guys are in position, and so sometimes it was just a little technical thing here or there that ends up making a big difference. And the guys, Virginia Tech, you do have to tip your cap, like you said, Tyler, because they did make those plays and finish those plays, and they weren't easy, even if South Carolina – ended up giving it to them a little bit because they just messed something up technically. Not getting your head around quite in time, not quite getting your hand up in time, not quite getting your head around both, all the above. Correctable things. If we had gone through this game and guys are just running wide open down the field, you would be more concerned. I didn't see that as much as some things that I think you can clean up. But, yeah, DeMarcus Leach is out there, freshman, never played corner. Before he got here this spring, he was a high school safety and quarterback. Been training kind of on the side before he got to Carolina. He's gone through it. Certainly has size, looks the part, and went out there and battled. So I think correctable things, though, for the Gamecocks there.
Yeah, the DB depth got tested and strained really, really early in the season. So, kudos to those guys for just hanging in there, battling. You're giving up some balls at times. Cisse's playing nickel. He's playing corner. You got the freshman going in there like you talked about. And it was kind of just, a survive situation, I think. And I'm with y'all. I mean, if you're just getting run by or they're just beating you by 2 or 3 steps most of the time, then you're sitting there going like, hey, do we have a man coverage issue here? A lot of that is just, I think, losing your technique a little bit in the moment, some game one type stuff. I'm sure they'll go back to the tape. That'll be a huge, I would say, focus and priority this week is just making plays on the ball when it's in the air. I agree with y'all, though. Some of that, the play we saw from those VT receivers is part of the reason I do think, VT is a team that's probably going to give some teams trouble this year. To me, they didn't look like a terrible team, and you're going to have, with drones back there making plays against an ACC schedule, they're going to put up some yards against some teams, I think. And really, I don't even know if I recall many just major busts, in terms of mental huge issue. If you watch around college football, you see coverage busts all Saturday in terms of week one and just guys being out of place. even the one you got run by on, it was just, it's a scramble drill. Drones launches the ball 60 yards in the air. Like, stuff like that is going to happen from time to time when you're playing good receivers and a quarterback that can extend plays. So you don't love it, but it's going to happen. For the most part, if you told me we'd go into this game and we'd be saying, hey, DBs need to play a little bit better, I would take that because we know what those DBs can do. We know what they're capable of. The fact that we're not talking about, hey, the defensive tackles got mashed backwards. We're not talking about, hey, the linebackers looked the part, but they didn't play the part. The fact we're not saying those things and we're just saying, hey, DBs need to make a few more plays on the ball, I think that bodes well for this defense as the year progresses.
Were y'all surprised that Brandon Cisse was the most picked on DB in this game? It was targeted at 5 times, only gave up 2 receptions. One of those was that long one for 29, but out of all the DBs, he was thrown at the most on Sunday.
I mean, I think you take your shots, right? I think that was kind of part of Virginia Tech's game plan, was to take some deep shots and see what happens. Jones has an arm. He's capable of getting it there, as we saw, and just kind of test those situations. Especially we saw, Judge did go out, and Cisse was obviously, he started opposite Judge. Like he was going to play. Swain gets in there. DeMarcus Leach gets in there. I think that's probably just kind of how it worked out from a matchup standpoint with where South Carolina was lining him up, the plays that they had called. They obviously, Virginia Tech they were building in some deep shots, and so Cisse, I thought, he gave up a couple balls. There was one that I would think he would really, really like to have back where he just didn't quite get his head around and gave up a catch. But, if you're getting love from J.C. Horn and Stephon Gilmore after the game for how you played, pretty good Gamecock debut, I think, for Brandon Cisse.
Yeah, I don't know if they were picking. I think it just played out that way. And, kudos to Cisse. He did give up those balls, but I think later on, off the top of my head, there's at least 1 or 2 other plays where he did what all the great DBs do, and that's when that guy basically makes a catch on you, and you make sure he doesn't complete the catch, right? Like the wide receiver does every single element, and then you just pop the ball out at the last second, and it ends up falling incomplete. So just having, you talk about being patient, you talk about, finishing a play to the very end. The great DBs will find a way to force an incompletion, even if the receiver, gets leverage on them or the ball is placed perfectly. And, a lot of that goes back to this kid being a film junkie, this being a guy who's going to just fine-tune his game in every single way. Again, he was playing corner, he was playing nickel, he was showing off that versatility that we talked about, which ended up being huge considering that Jalen Kilgore was on a pitch count. The nickelback position, I think, behind Jalen is a little bit uncertain in terms of other guys. So just being able to slide Cisse over there, gives South Carolina quite a bit, I'm sure, comfort level in what they can do on defense, and just having that as a fallback plan, I think as Kilgore gets more and more healthy, is big for them.
How did we do on buy or sell on Friday? We'll go over the answers coming up next to wrap up today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Slubs on your Tuesday here on The Game. All right, welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris wrapping up the hour here on your Tuesday here on the game. This year, for Buy or Sell, which we do each and every Friday going into game weekend, we're going to be keeping score. So for every correct answer, we all get a point. So I figured we should review how the weekend went, what we got right, what we got wrong, and maybe see if we rethink how we look at things this upcoming week. So our first Buy or Sell this past week was Sellers averaged 211 pass yards per game last season. Buy or Sell, he was going to have more than that. We all bought that he was going to have over 211 yards. Correct answer was Sell. Only 209 yards through the air on Sunday.
How do we miss
Just
it by
missed
two?
it.
Of course we missed it by 2.
Just missed it.
Come on.
Because of that stupid bad call.
Yeah. If that wouldn't have happened, he would have been over that and would have been right. First offensive play was going to be a run. Let's see. Wes sold on that, but Chris and I both bought on it, so Wes got a point.
Good job, Wes.
By the way, nobody could have predicted dump off to Mo Brown as the first play of the game.
That would have been lower on the call sheet for me. Not because it was obviously a great call.
Yeah, it was a great call, but I was like,
give me 10 options, I probably wouldn't have come up with that.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Mo Brown for earning that opportunity, but that didn't see that one coming. But I was
Mo
on the
Brown
tight
the
end.
second, by the way.
Mo Brown the second.
One of my favorite players on the team.
Anybody with a neck roll is good in my book.
He's bringing back the fullback look. Like they line him up back there sometimes.
Yep.
44, he's got the look. Love it.
Well, he already has that just physically imposing presence anyway by just like his build.
Super nice kid, plays very mean.
I was going to say, I would hate to be in front of him trying to tackle him or get blocked by him or something like that. Buy or Sell number 3 was a true freshman would score a touchdown. Wes bought, and Chris and I both sold on that one, so we each get a point for that. As unfortunately there weren't that many touchdowns to go around. Vakari Swain, Lenore Sellers, and of course Nick Harbor, the only one to score on Sunday.
Did get the first catch career for Donovan Murphy.
We did.
Not a touchdown.
Yep.
But we saw it.
I mean, I don't think Wes was far off in guessing that. Like, it could have happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Reasonable.
Any defense, Wes?
Any defense.
No, I remember saying, am I going to play the odds or am I going to play my gut? And I just remember I think I even said I was picturing a Brian Rowe touchdown for some reason. So I went with the gut. So did we all get 1 point? Is that right?
As of right now, we all have 1 point. Well, there are 2 more questions, and I wanted to run this one by you to see how this should be scored.
Oh.
Because I asked, Dylan Stewart will not lead the team in sacks, which both Wes and I bought. Chris sold on that one. He tied for the lead in sacks, though. Did not lead the team outright. So which way should I go with this one? How should we score this?
So he had one.
He had one. And then
JT Gear had one.
JT Gear had one. So they tied for the lead. He did not lead the team outright, but he tied for the lead in sacks.
He did not lead the team in sacks.
Right. So y'all know I'm fair, right?
Right.
I do not think that I should get credit because he did not. If he would have gotten 1.5 sacks,
1.5, he would have led the team outright.
But I think you kind of
All right,
push doesn't count.
All right, I want to run that by you.
Now I will question one. I file under protest because they took away Nick Harbor's touchdown. So we have a I don't know what committee we can escalate that to, but
I can strike that one from the records if you want me to because of the controversy.
We can keep it. You got to build in the idea that there might be some shenanigans.
That's true.
That's
true.
Yeah,
have to deal with officiating and all those kind of things. That's true.
In this business, there's going to be terrible officiating.
Well, but they told us at media days. This is the SEC. Obviously, Big 12 was on the call for Sunday, but they're going for perfection, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's what they told us.
We're still a little ways away from there.
So Wes and I get a point on that one. Last Buy or Sell was South Carolina attempted 2 or more 4th downs in 7 games last year. The question was, would they attempt more than 2 on Sunday? You guys both bought that. I did sell it, so I get the point for that one.
So you got 4 points.
I got 3 points.
3, okay.
So Wes has 2, you have 1, I have 3. It's a long season.
Golly. Dead last.
But almost everything was a sell except for Dylan Stewart not leading the team in sacks.
Yeah. Okay, now Tyler.
Yes.
I want to go back to Wes. I did your homework, and I looked at the. I'm getting us off topic, Tyler, but just
it's the end of the show. Go for it.
So I did go look at the Kyron Lacey catch, It was pretty similar. The explanation, I even went back and checked the broadcast, the explanation that SEC crew, who did not know what it was doing for most of the game or all of it, said they said the receiver, because remember, they said incomplete. They went back and looked, they said complete. The explanation was as follows. The receiver had possession of the ball with 2 feet on the ground prior to contact by the defense. Now, if we apply that logic to the Nick Harbor catch, to me, the receiver had possession of the ball with 2 feet on the ground in the end zone prior to contact by the defense. I couldn't tell. The Virginia Tech defender definitely got a hand on the ball out of bounds. I can't tell for sure if he got a hand on it when it was still in bounds. It didn't really look like the ball moved, even if he did. So, to me, again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. The entire question of this thing is, did he catch the football in bounds and secure the catch before all of whatever happened out of bounds? Because everybody's spending a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
If you spend the most time on that and you're saying he did not have possession at that point, then no, it was not a catch in my reading of the rules. But my interpretation is that by the time he got out of bounds and is going to the ground and the ball moves when he hits the ground and all that jazz, he'd already caught the ball in bounds for a touchdown, right? So
yes.
That's how I'm looking at this thing.
Chris, did you see how far the ball went flying on the Kyron Lacey?
Well, on the Lacey one, and the other similarity, man, is he had the ball in one hand. He caught it. He has the ball in his right hand. He does get 2 feet down. He's turned toward the sideline. That's one difference. Doesn't probably make a huge difference. And then DQ Smith hits him, knocks him out of bounds, and as soon as the ball hits the ground, it goes flying. But they said he caught the ball, so all that other stuff didn't matter, and that's how I feel about the Harbor one.
Thankfully, it didn't come back to bite South Carolina. They won anyway, and he still did get a touchdown later on in the game, though that did prevent a couple of us from getting points in buy or sell. But we'll go on to next week, and we'll look ahead to what Coach Beamer has to say coming up in about an hour. We'll discuss that coming up tomorrow on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs here on the Game.